Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Dr. Vedder.
You are going to get your chance to ask questions.
Yeah, now to you. I wanted to ask them to someone else.
We'll have a nice dialogue.
So on page 2 of your testimony, you say the sales tax is regressive, and throughout your testimony, it sounds like you agree that regressivity is not a good thing in tax policy.
I didn't say that, by the way. There are some of those who think regressivity is a bad thing. I'm neutral on that question, but I concede that that is something that is generally viewed.
I implied it.
I know you believe that. Yeah.
But that regressivity here appears to be completely offset by other parts of this proposal, such as the proposed Ohio Earned Income Tax Credit, which will lower tax liability. Have you seen, I just want to know, have you seen data, why are you saying this? Have you seen data, have you seen runs on data that we haven't seen that shows that what this statement is making is true?
Of course I haven't seen runs. I saw this proposal. I heard about it last night, and I read the PD and other accounts this morning, and I read what the complaint dealer says about the regressivity of the plan. Of course I haven't run runs, but I have been doing tax work for 50 years, starting with the Illinois Commission on Revenue in 1962. I've been working on tax issues for 51 years. I know an earned income tax cut of 5% on the federal level can have powerful effects. It can amount to hundreds of dollars even for a low-income Ohio tax payers under any single set of scenarios. And I did sit down and do a few guesstimates what I think the scenarios would be. I couldn't see the tax burden rising for low-income people on balance. Now, I can see it rising on the sales tax. But let's take a family and make some low-income family, $20,000 a year. And let's say $10,000 of that goes for housing and food, which is not taxed. Let's say they pay tax on $10,000 an item. That's $25, a quarter of a percent. 1/4% of $10,000 is $25. Now that same $20,000 family will probably get more than $25 worth of earned income tax credits. And there are other, there are other provisions of the bill, Representative Foley, that involve. And so I haven't done a complete analysis. I plead guilty to it. But us professors do that all the time.
One follow-up.
So, earlier this year, one of the Policy Matters Ohio presented a report to us, and they had they broke out kind of the proportionate share of taxes paid by taxpayers, and they looked at different quintiles. So, lowest 20%, second 20, middle 20. And the report showed that for the lowest 20%, it's about 11%, 11.5% income tax or tax burden on poor people. The top 1% is like 6%, 6.5%. And basically the latter went down. The lower you were in income, the higher percentage you paid in taxes. Do you think this, my first blush reading in this thing is that this tax proposal is that it does nothing but exacerbate that. We talked about, the sponsors talked about fairness and supporting middle class folks, but it seems to me that this is a giveaway to rich people in terms of we're cutting income taxes at a pretty large proportion that doesn't affect lower income people as much, and that there's an increase in the sales tax. Doesn't this exacerbate the regressivity of overall taxes in the state of Ohio for people?
I don't know really, to be honest with you, the answer to your question, except to say that this bill is quite different than that bill. This bill, for example, did not have a massive expansion in the sale. The original governor's proposal had a large expansion in the sales tax base. This doesn't. So there's a lot of differences. It's very hard to assess the overall regressivity effects of this change. I would say, however, that the data of the government of the District of Columbia, which looks at tax burdens in the largest city in every state in the United States by income groups, shows that, using Columbus in the case of Ohio, shows that Ohio, if you look at regressivity issues, Ohio looks much better than almost all of our neighbors. It looks better than a large majority of the states in the Union. It looks much better than the national average. Now that doesn't mean it's perfect, and we can have a discussion on what is the optimal distribution of tax burden. But it does suggest that this state is not a state that hates poor people, at least not in terms of tax policy, as I read the evidence. And I don't think this is going to change so much.
Representative Becker.